because you know whose speech last week where he dusted off the election fraud lies about the 2020 presidential election, you know, it kind of landed with a big old thud. It was mostly ignored, and a lot of Republicans tried to distance themselves from it. But Democratic Senator Alyssa Slotkin says, she's also a former CIA analyst, she warns that we need to pay attention. Take a look.
The president has been laying down a storyline so that when or if he loses or his team loses the elections in November, he can call them invalid. He gave a big primetime address this week just to address that issue. He is, I mean, from beginning to end of this year, has been doing everything in his power to try and make people feel like the elections aren't serious, they aren't valid. When he loses elections, he claims that they were rigged, kind of like a kid.
Not kind of like a kid. I mean, the question is, do you think he's laying the groundwork to contest the election? Hell yeah. I mean, why else do it?
That speech was not about 2020. That speech was about 2026. And he is petrified that the Democrats are going to take over. That's what all the polls are saying anyway. And here's why. We now have lost 17 service members in Iran, and he has nothing, no plan. The gas is up to $4 a gallon. Some diesel, I've noticed a couple of diesel, like almost $6.
California gas is very high.
Yeah. And now we put a 50% tariff on Canada, which is going to increase inflation and prices are going to go up. And there's the perfect metaphor for his administration, the diarrhea outbreak.
The explosive diarrhea.
The explosive diarrhea is just the perfect metaphor because everything is going up and making a mess.
Well, I've got a question, actually.
Thank you for that, Joy.
You're welcome.
The imagery.
Pivot from the toilet talk. I'm not convinced, and I want to actually run this by you, Alyssa, because you know President Trump. I'm not convinced he cares beyond himself. So this election loss stuff, my concern is, it's definitely eroding the trust the American public has. I know all the dangers and the potential problems there, but is it because he cares at all about a strategy or Republicans? Because Republicans don't like this. His Republican elected officials, that's what I mean, though. But I don't think he cares about the midterms. I think it's an ego thing. I think he needs to, it's getting in his own way.
I think first and foremost, it's about the fact that he cannot accept that he lost in 2020. I think that is much bigger than anything ahead for the midterms. In fact, I often think when he's not technically on the ballot, he doesn't care that much if Republicans win.
That's right.
But this is fascinating, and you kind of made this point when we last talked about it. Why is it only the election that he lost that's rigged? So we can trust all the other elections. 2024 is good. But even more fascinating, it was the election his federal government was in charge of. We were in the White House. We were overseeing CISA, the cybersecurity agency that secures our elections. So it's not the flex that Donald Trump thinks it is to be like 2020 was stolen. It's like, but you were in charge then. You should have stopped it from being stolen.
Yes, he was fine when President Obama was in charge and President Biden, it's not him.
But when it is him. And I would remind people, because it is really dangerous for us to lose faith in elections, and he gives us a lot of reason to. States administer elections. They're still done at the state level. Attorneys general and states governors are getting ready for any kind of, things and shenanigans that might happen. We have to show up and we have to trust our elections and our local ones
for the
and get out
10,000 years that I've been on this planet, this has never come up before. Does anyone remember?
There's no real evidence of election fraud. It's like, it's 0.0003% of election fraud. So it just doesn't exist. It's a non-issue.
Basically.
And you're right. It's not something that's ever come up before. But I think Alyssa makes a good point in that we should recognize that states run elections, not the federal government, even though this federal government is trying to meddle with our state elections. They have been asking for state voter rolls all over this country. But I am happy to say that 15 federal judges have dismissed those cases, have rejected them. And so the federal government, the judges are doing the right thing. But I also think that this is a big distraction over his illegal war in Iran. I really believe that the New York Times reported that there have been injuries that the Pentagon has not told the American people about, that there have been, and then after the New York Times reported it, the next day, The Pentagon then releases that 427 U.S. service people have been injured and 17 of them have died. I think it was just last week, 3 U.S. soldiers have been killed in action in Jordan and Iraq. It was Private Isabella Gonzalez. She was 19 years old. First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25 years old, and then Sergeant Michael Emmanuel Swinton, 30, of Fayetteville, North Carolina, all dead because of this illegal, unconscionable war that this president started without congressional approval.
It's getting worse.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, and by the way, when the president gave this address last Thursday, I thought that he was probably going to talk about the war that we're in. That would seem like the logical thing, that he would make the case to the American public. This is why we're there. This is our goal. This is our end date. But it wasn't. Instead, we retread 2020.
Because he actually doesn't care to inform the American public because he's not clear on his own storyline on what they're doing.
You know what? Look, I love that everybody wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really do. But you can no longer trust what he's telling you. You just can't. So this is why it's important to remember what Alyssa said. You don't have to be concerned that our elections are rigged. They are not. Fair elections happen and have been happening in this country for years. No one can tell you you're not allowed to vote, okay? If you have been voting and it is your right to vote, go and do it. Go and do it. Don't let anybody say, well, you know, these were mandated or gerrymandered, whatever. None of that has anything to do with you. You have a right to vote. One person, one vote. It's your right.